Hi, tonight we're going to talk about modern mysticism. Mysticism is both modern and ancient because it connects everything, past and future, in the present, as we quiet the linear mind that is in time and duality. Our soul consciousness is relaxed in eternity, in the unitive awareness, and every second we spend in that unified condition raises the vibration of our mind and body. The soul takes us to the other side of the mirror, where awareness wakes us up to another existence free of concepts, which are only for the mind. Our body is an instrument for the physical plane. Our mind is in another dimension of thoughts, concepts, and intelligence, while our spirit is pure consciousness without qualities. Pure consciousness changes when identified and linked and associated with material and mental qualities. For example, pure water has no color, but when mixed with a certain color, it takes on those qualities. That is why we can't seek it, because that is just adding color to it. Contemporary mysticism is just expanding our awareness field to include everything in the present moment. Our mind and body are tools that compel, coerce, and pressure us as a course of action throughout our lives to get things done. Our soul allows life to flow through us without any pressure as awareness draws us to consciousness with bliss, love, and peace. Modern mysticism is using science and rationality to explain spirit, soul, and consciousness, so the mind is quiet and we can have a spiritual experience. Jennifer Beals said, "I think science and spirituality are one and the same. Quantum physics is now validating all kinds of spiritual teachings. Our mind is a rational occurrence that needs ideas, concepts, and explanations to be quiet. But our soul precedes the brain, so it is an experience free from the mind and can't be analyzed." Traditional mysticism uses abstract ideas and abstract concepts to point to the experience of consciousness. But in modern time, we are more scientific, so we need more rational discussions. Therefore, modern mysticism uses science to point to the rolling mystery of spirit that is free of concepts, so the mind is satisfied and we are released to go beyond it. They both are directing our attention towards consciousness, so we become conscious of our true self, which we label soul, spirit, or consciousness. This liberation some call enlightenment, others call it heaven on earth, or quantum consciousness. But we can't understand it, describe it, or define it with words. We assign words to describe ourselves as our mind, body, and spirit. But in quiet solitude, deep meditation, or contemplation, the words are dropped as we become aware. It really doesn't matter what or who we are, as awareness is what matters. Modern mysticism or traditional mysticism are two banks on each side of the river of life, trying to get us to jump into the same river of transformation from mind to spirit. Whatever bank of the river we are sitting on doesn't matter. We hear the same sounds of running water, feel the same sensations, and sooner or later our mind quiets and the soul speaks with a spiritual experience. Bob Marley says, "The day you stop racing is the day you win the race." In another song he says, "Don't worry about a thing, every little thing's going to be all right." Contemporary mysticism is about unitive consciousness and our quest for meaning, in transforming and being a pragmatist at the same time. It draws on scientists, philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual seekers without abandoning our rationality that enriches our human experience as we understand the spiritual dimensions. We don't need to be saved or rescued, as we only need access to the spiritual experience of our soul. The universe is a reserve, a supply of energy in many dimensions, which we approach with our body on one dimension and our mind on another, but we gain total access to all levels with our consciousness. Energy is an entanglement of waves that our mind organizes into matter and the time-space continuum. But when we drop the mind, we see the unitive consciousness, a different reality. When we drop the patterns in our mind, new dimensions emerge that start to reveal a universal consciousness that responds to us. We let go of old thoughts of a material reality, and the universe brings us to a new consciousness where we choose the wave that we want to ride. Maharaji says, realize that your world is only a reflection of yourself, and stop finding fault with the reflection. Attend to yourself. Set yourself right mentally and emotionally. The physical self will follow automatically. Our consciousness has an influence on things more than our body, more than our mind, body, or technology, as it extends into the realm of epigenetics, where we influence our health and well-being. Bruce Lipton, PhD, who is a cellular biologist that started epigenetics, said, perception is awareness shaped by belief. Beliefs control perception. Rewrite beliefs and you rewrite perception. Rewrite perception and you rewrite genes and behavior. I am free to change how I respond to the world, so I change the way I see the world, and I change my genetic expression. We are not victims of our genes. We are masters of genetics. This is modern biology, where we upgrade our understanding of our genes, our health and well-being, which tells us that genes are a small machine that turns on and off. But our lifestyle is the key in ignition. We have the power and are in control of our genes, so our thoughts and lifestyle makes us healthy from the inside out. We live in modern times with new technology, new conditions, new customs and habits, and they are not to be feared, but understood. That is why we have modern mysticism. Because in old times the genie was in a bottle, but now the genie is in our genes, which we control with our behavior. We don't make new genes. We just reposition the old ones to a more acceptable position or state. Albert Einstein talks about the necessity to change, as he said, we cannot solve problems with the same thinking we use to create them. We have evolved above the conventional understanding of genetics and the spiritual understanding provided by mysticism, thanks to quantum physics. Biologists study chromosomes and genes, while physicists study atoms and electrons, but they both lead us to a modern version of traditional spiritualism. Their influence expands to thought and behavior, which develops our awareness to a deep conception of the universe and our relation to it. Science provides us with a contemporary understanding of energy, where everything is energy entangled in a web with everything else. There is one energy field which everything is a part of, so I call it an ocean of consciousness, because energy carries information. Within us, there is an energy that is like a spiritual retreat, where we can dive into the ocean of consciousness and escape our small reality at any time. This consciousness Christians label the soul, which is an energy that is like a noun, that identifies us as separate from the collective consciousness that is a verb. The collective consciousness or energy is what we Christians label God because it is the source of creation. God is the collective energy, the totality of everything. So when we expand in the soul, we have a spiritual experience beyond our mind and body. A Sufi proverb says, I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. Our brain, which I call a drop of water in the ocean of consciousness, science explains with neuroplasticity, the ability to develop new networks and new circuits with synaptic connections to neurons to change our brain or change our mind. This reorganization of synaptic connections is usually in response to an injury, but can be used to gain new knowledge or to have new experiences. I label this spiritual practice. As we rewire our thinking by having an inner experience in our consciousness that causes changes in our circuitry, hormones, and genes. This realization that we are a consciousness with a body and mind is the first step in relieving our pain and suffering and restoring wholeness or holiness. In modern mysticism, the person who saves us from our mental hell is our soul, consciousness, as we leave the material plane and experience the energy of God. We can look at spiritual events as appointments with God, as we are the same energy and not separate from God, and neither is anything else. Ramana Maharishi says, we have all to return to the source. Every human being is seeking its source and must one day come to it. We must come from the within. We have gone outward. Now we must return inward. Ernest Holmes says the same thing. God is all there is. God includes everything, all possibility and all action. For spirit is the invisible essence and substance of all form. Excuse me. Thank you.